Duke, Texas. This was like a standalone game. I know it wasn't actually a standalone game, but this was easily the best game of the night. All eyes were on it. J-Man was in attendance. Insane performance by Duke. Isaiah Evans went nuclear. I think we'll get into it. There's so much more in the tank for this Duke team too, and they won by 15. Um, got a little help from the refs, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm gonna swing it to my guy J-Man. What was the feeling like in the building? How crazy were the crazies?
Oh yeah, I mean it was look, Duke travels and they're definitely going to travel. I mean, there's already so many Duke fans in Charlotte, so the intros were loud. There was a lot of boos at the intros, but that's for Cam Boozer, obviously. And then Isaiah Evans is a fan favorite every time they do the intros. Last year, I tell people like last year, in terms of crowd pop, when the intros happened, he was the loudest, like over Cooper Flag, over anybody else. Isaiah Evans gets the crowd pop, and then he comes back home to Charlotte where he won the AC championship game last year with Duke, and now he's back home again, and the crowd pop was even louder, and he showed out in front of his hometown. And so the environment and vibes are great for Duke throughout the game. I know they're down 1.5, which we'll talk about, but I uh I came away impressed with Duke as a whole because when you're only down one and your best player has 0 points and you can't shoot the ball well besides Isaiah and you're only down 1 point and a half. It's just I came away with a lot of positives. I know people would love to complain about some ugly basketball. One, this game one, Duke's offense was horrible or very inconsistent last year. People thought Con Knibble should have been benched after his game against Kentucky. And then we saw what happened. So, there's going to be overreactions for certain things, but I came away with a lot of positives, and I think this Duke team is going to be very good.
Yeah, I mean, here's the reality. Two things. Duke doesn't have a point guard. I'll firmly get on that hill. There is no point guard on this roster. If there is, it's Caden, who I don't think to me, it looks like Shire has no intentions of him and Caleb Foster being like a position battle. That's Caleb Foster's spot. And Caleb Foster would have to play pretty bad for it not to be his spot because the minutes discrepancy between the two is pretty high. um, I don't think Caleb Foster played that bad. He's just not a point guard. That's not his game. That's not how he wants to play. He hit a three and Twitter went crazy, which was, respectfully, Caleb, you got to tell them not to do that. So, like, here's the thing: we're seniors.
Dion,
We
Dion,
we should be able to make 1 3.
Dion. First off, he hit a pull-up midi like a couple possessions before that. Then he hit a three. And so that was, look, I thought he played when we talked about the preview. I was like, hey, point guard position, he averaged 13 and 8. I don't think they'll get the 8 assists a game because the usage rate is not, it's not because they're, honestly, I really don't think it's because they're that bad. It's just the usage rate is kind of like last year. Like Tyrese Proctor and Sion James were the backcourts, but the usage rate was always Cooper Flag, Conk and then Tyrese Proctor would get more as the season went along. But he was a catch and shoot guy for the first 2 months of the season at the point guard position. But I think the assists won't get there for those two guys, Foster and Caden, because of the usage rate. But yeah, I thought he had two bad plays in the first half, and Twitter buried him for it, and then he bounced back. I in my film breakdown that I do these games, I'm going to single out like his defense because he does well. He does good things that aren't in the box score. Like Texas was trying to run this elevator screen for Kendall Chandler like two or three times, and or Kendall Weaver, not Chandler, Kendall Weaver, and he blew that up. And then and Sean Miller said after the game he was frustrated they only had 6 assists because Duke couldn't let them get in their like they couldn't get in their offense because Duke how they guarded the perimeter. And that's led by Caleb Foster. And that's the one thing he does well is to make other opposing offenses uncomfortable in their half court. And you won't ever see in the box score, but that's where I'm like, I like Caleb Foster and his role that I talk about. But to your point, yeah, the point guard position, I will give you when he made a three, I may have tweeted, hell yeah, Caleb Foster. And
Which is crazy. Let's talk about that. That's crazy. This is not a 15-year-old freshman on varsity.
I know, but it's the guy that goes in, like he goes with his confidence. If he has confidence, he looks like he can be a legit point, like starting point guard at Duke. And when he loses it, then he looks like he's the 12th guy on the team. And to see him have like a bad first half where he was or bad for he didn't have a stat in the first half and two bad shots and a bad foul to come back and hit a couple big buckets for Duke. Look, I'm gonna give him props for that because again, like I said, he's never gonna be a top four option for this team. And so for him to have 7 points and he was plus on the court, Duke outscored Texas 45-33 with Caleb Foster on the court. So that was good. And then with him off, Duke outscored him by 3. So like he was, when he was on the court, good things happened for Duke. And so look, I'm gonna be proud of Caleb Foster for game one.
Yeah, you guys weren't proud of Caleb Foster for game one. He had a wide open three, and everyone acted like he was Steph Curry. Like it was eerily reminiscent to when Klay Thompson had like 37 points in the third quarter, and all he did
Listen,
was hit a wide open three.
listen. Duke could not buy a 3-point shot last night or a layup. So for Caleb Foster to be the guy to go 100% from three, I don't care if it's 1 for 1, needs to be celebrated.
Duke was 9 of 23 from three. They just didn't shoot that many.
Well, I mean, yeah, but Isaiah was 4 of 8. You take away those 4 of 8, that number is 15.
That's
So not great.
that's how it works though. Like
But
I'm
you know who was 2 for 3? You know who was 2 for 3?
Dame Sar. That was big time. Uh
I told you, buy the stock, buy all the stock.
Nick Kamenia, brother, we need to do something. Nick,
He was
like
fine.
it's me and you now, Nick. Like we're gonna have to do something different, I think. I don't know if maybe a different pregame meal. I don't know what we got to do differently. Extra hour of sleep, maybe one less hour of sleep. Maybe you were too tired. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe a couple jumpers before the game. Snooze fest from Nick Kamenia. Darren Harris came in. I think he immediately hit a three and then didn't really do much for his remaining 8 minutes. Um, Caden Boozer, I thought looked like the point guard, but also I thought Caleb Foster looked like a much better player, if that makes sense. And
I see what you're getting at there. I see what you're getting at there. Caden has to show me something like offense looked better. I think Duke's points per minute were actually they were better with Caden at the point or playing. He was 2.2 points per minute. Foster was 1.71, but also that's deal with Cam Boozer being on the floor where that is a hilarious stat because Cam Boozer points per minute was 1.83 with him on the court. Off the court, it was 2.3. So it's like Duke was playing better with Cam off the court, which is not true. But my point being is I can see what you're talking about with Caden, where he looked better at the point guard position because the stats prove it. But Caleb was the better player overall, and I he's going to take some time. I think people really wanted to jump the gun with him to try and be like this Trey Jones or Tyus Jones type of point guard because he's pass first, and so you kind of that's honestly the last two pass first point guards Dukes has the Jones brothers, but he's just not there yet. So maybe that'll come along for him. The one thing I really need Caden to do well is or do better is finish around the rim. I know he's 0 for 1, but I think that 0 for 1 was at the rim, and then he missed some bunnies against UCF and maybe a layup against Tennessee, like contested ones. But that's just something that he's got to overcome and get accustomed to at the college level. But I thought all in all he played all right.
one of the all-time ugliest jumpers, with all
My
due
goodness.
respect. All-time
Yeah.
ugliest jumpers. It blows my mind he's related to Cam. Because Caden feels like Carlos, and Cam feels like if Carlos had swag, and like if Carlos was also Kevin Garnett and also Giannis, like that's what Cam is. And I always say Carlos Boozer was a robot. Caden Boozer's a robot too. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I don't mean that negatively. Like, but like
Yeah.
I think like Cam Boozer isn't on the court thinking a ton. He's playing. And he, his IQ is just that much higher than everybody's to where, he is also probably like 10 steps ahead. But I just feel like Carlos has had to know, hey, I'm gonna jab step, pull up midi before he does it. Caden has to know, like, hey, I'm gonna drive right, step back, midi before he does it. Cam just kind of does stuff and says, "Oh my God, I just dunked on you." It's just a little bit different. Of a feeling, I feel like. But with all three of the Boozer family, I don't know if there's more Boozer relatives. but I'm sure they'll go to Duke. To speak on Cam Boozer's performance, I thought he was fine. I know everybody's freaking out a little bit. You know, he didn't have the 1 3. I do expect Duke fans to pretend he's Steph Curry whenever he makes a three, the same way they did with Caleb Foster. But you know, 3 of 12, I thought he was fine. It was his first game in college basketball. I think he had a significant weight on his shoulders from playing the second day. He had to watch Darren Peterson go crazy. He had to watch AJ DeBonza put on a phenomenal performance on the biggest stage. He had to watch Koa Pete put on the best freshman performance also on the biggest stage. Darius Acuff looked great. Michael looked great. And then Cam's at home like, uh-oh, I play Texas tomorrow and there's no one else to watch but me. And I think you could kind of just see like there was a little bit extra pressure on him, probably from himself, and he kind of just played like it. But I thought he looked fine. No one could really guard him, and you see that with the 12 free throws. The only person that stopped Cam Boozer was Cam Boozer.
Yeah, I mean Cam. So Shire said after the game, like, and it's 100% true, and it showed that Duke had no film on Texas. Texas had all the film on Duke. They knew how to stop Cam because Duke's two exhibitions were nationally broadcasted. So they saw him have 20 and 20 against Tennessee. And so what Texas did was they didn't trap him when he faced up in the post, but once he started backing down in the post, that's when they trapped him, and it made him uncomfortable. And it showed he was over 7 in the first half. And then Duke adjusted at halftime because Duke had no idea. Duke was kind of just playing blind, honestly, in the first half because all they could go off of was box scores from close scrimmages. Shire and staff had no idea what sets they were running, who was the impact players or what and why. And you saw Duke was guessing a little bit early on, and then the wrinkle that Texas had with their Cam Boozer defense, it worked. It was, hats off to Sean Miller and his staff for really executing, making Cam uncomfortable, going 0 of 7 in the first half. And then Shire made the second half adjustment. He goes 3 of 5 in the second half and 9 of 12 or 9 of 11 from the free throw line in the second half and gets 15 points. And he also had one rebound at halftime. He ends with 15 and 13. Like that, when you have an off game and you just take over a second half, like that just shows how dominant and special you are. And Ken Boozer is efficiency is going to get better. Obviously, I'm not going to think he's going to go 3 for 12 every game. He's just to have 15 and 13, 3 steals, 2 assists. Could have had more assists. Dude just couldn't hit shots, and he's going to be fine. And shout out to Sean Miller and stuff. Like I said, really good defensive plan. They executed well in the first half. Duke, really good halftime adjustment where they scored 43 points and held Texas 27.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point about the scouting. I don't know. I do it like I mean this respectfully. Jordan Pope and Tremont Mark been playing college basketball since I was in college. So you could scout a little bit Shire. Like there was something you could look at. Like maybe you
Yeah.
didn't know like how they were going to be used in Texas, but they definitely knew individual player tendencies because some of them Texas dudes is about 30 years old. But I don't think defense was Duke's issue. Like to
Oh,
me, this was very clearly, and I think I don't, I don't want to speak for Duke fans by any means, especially now that we have you on the channel. I had to be the resident Brotherhood member last year, but now that we have you, I don't want to speak for them by any means. But Shire clearly has an identity as a coach. This is going to be like he's more Kelvin Sampson mixed with Calipari than he is like an offensive genius. You know, he's not Mark Pope, Pat Kelsey, right? Like he's not the guy you want drawing up a set, an ATO coming out of a timeout if you need a bucket. But I think forever Duke will have one of the two best defenses in the country. In the moment Kelvin Sampson retires, I will say like Duke will just have the best defense in the country year over year until Shire's done, right? And I think they kind of proved that last night. Like, yeah, our best player can go 3 of 12. Yeah, we can go 9 of 23 from three with only four, like one dude really making any. We don't need a point guard because you just won't score the basketball on us.
yeah, I mean, I Duke's defense, yeah, the last 2 years have been great. Jay Lucas did a tremendous job when he came over from Kentucky. Really flipped Duke's identity on defense. Because one thing Duke's teams were not good at under K his last few years, and Jay Lucas did a really good job. Shire's done a really good job of transitioning since Jay's left. Coach Doherty's done a really good job. I think he's the defense coordinator now for Duke. But offensively, Duke just runs it's a pro style offense. Like it is just 5 out, 4 5 out, and they just go and they play space. And it works really well. I will say I will back Shire and say ATOs. I do love Shire and ATOs. I think he's actually really good. But
No
I'm
shot.
a Duke fan. I do
No
film.
shot you love Shire
Yeah,
AT.
yeah. I've been on shot. I've been on Shire's bandwagon since his first year when people wanted him fired for losing 10 or 11 games or whatever. So
I'm very much in on the Shire bandwagon.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
like
But
if I'm choosing a coach for the future, it's Pope Shire one too. Don't get me wrong. I just think like they're two different. Like I'm not here
two
for like
different
Mark Pope being an elite defensive coach either.
Yeah, two different styles of offensive coaching. Pope is very good at drawing up your classic college basketball sets almost all the time. And then you have Shire's like, hey, here's NBA spacing. We
Yes.
got athletes. And then here's the wrinkle of Isaiah running a flare screen or a backdoor cut because they're guarding the flare screen and on the double screen. So like there's wrinkles in the offense and the movement of the offense to where I think Shire's like, you know what, that's beautiful. But to the naked eye, when they miss shots out of the offense, it's like run something. And I try and tell people they are running something. Last year, that was kind of the thing with Duke when they struggled early on was people wanted sets, and it was just like Duke's missing looks out of the design. And these guys are look. I told you in the preview, I thought Texas was going to be the team that come out early and kind of take control of the game. I didn't think it was going to be the whole first half. I thought it was going to be like the first 6 minutes of the game, but they just showed their experience was something that was their advantage, and Duke had five inexperienced starters. And so it showed early on, it showed in the first half, and then shout out to the guys to make the adjustments at halftime and the comfortability. And again, I'm going to tell everybody buy Dime Sar stock because yes, he missed a dunk. Look, Bitcoin booms, Bitcoin has it goes down. Like sometimes it'll rip 30%, sometimes it'll go down 30%. That was a tough moment. Great steal, missed the dunk. It's okay. Hit that big three that he got fouled on, by the way. And he was plus 20 in 28 minutes. Like the guy just he's so fast. Like you can tell he played in Europe, like professional basketball. The way that he gets a rebound and in three strides he's at the rim or in the other opposing paint just screams that he's a former pro, a European pro. So Dame's going to get even better. I think he is Duke's X factor, and I came away. I'll give you the one takeaway that like a negative takeaway. The negative is the five position. Malik Brown has not practiced at all. So he had Shire said jokingly in the press conference he was already tired before the game started, and you could tell he played 13 minutes and he fouled out. Like he just is not there. But with conditions, but the two centers you have, and they both foul out with 5 minutes to go. Gongbo was in foul trouble against Tennessee, and then he fouls out in this game, and in 24 minutes, and he's in thing with Gongba that is like it's good but also bad is he likes to mix it up while he's in foul trouble. He'll get the charge, like he set a charge, he forced a travel, but then he's going to like hook and hold, and they're going to call it one time, and all of a sudden he gets his third foul, and the other team gets two free throws on top of it, and he's playing a thin line that's like good for Duke, but it's also going to shoot Duke in the foot that I'm a little worried about, but. That the five position has to stay out of foul trouble if this Duke team really wants to hit the next level.
Think it's crazy that we're focused on the five position when we just don't have a point guard. But I
Yeah,
get it because Caleb hit that three. Caleb hit that three.
crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. The five position though is way more talented. Or wait, that's so mean, but is a lot
No,
more
no, it's
talented.
it's correct. It is way more
A
talented.
lot more talented than the point guard position. Like Pat Gongba had 10 points and four rebounds, and he should have had more than one assist too. But like he 4 of 7, 10 points, four rebounds, only 24 minutes because he can't stay on the court because he's getting in foul trouble. If he's not in foul trouble, he's getting 15. And that's just he had 15-9 against Tennessee, but he was in foul trouble. Like the guy is an efficient scorer, but he's got to stay on the court to do so.
No, you're definitely correct. The five spot is way more talented than the point guard position.
I, sorry, Caleb, but that
It,
was I didn't mean it like that, but it's fine. It's whatever.
it's okay though. Like not every position has to have an NBA guy starting and an NBA guy coming off the bench. You know what I mean? Like it is okay for Shire to be like, hey, like we have the senior guard who's has a great podcast, and then we have a freshman who's going to transition into the role. we have,
Frustrating.
we have a freshman who's going to transition into the role. And by the way, like by year three, year four, Caden, we are not discussing the point guard position as like a flaw on any Duke roster. And I mean, I'm looking at this team. And from watching the game, one, I think, and I've said it all off season, I can make whatever Caleb Foster jokes I want to make. And it's really not even Caleb Foster that makes me want to make the jokes. It was just Twitter's reaction to like, go get him, Caleb. It's like, all right, man. Like
Look, you can't be an honorary Brotherhood member over here, Dion, if you're going to mock the Brotherhood. But to your point, you are correct. I'm sorry, I was one of them. It's going to happen again. Like he's going to have 3 points on 1 of 4, and I'm like, hell yeah. And everybody's like, what are you talking about?
I'm with that if Caden does it, by the way. Like the moment Caden hits a
Fair.
three, if you think I'm not tweeting out like, yo, you go get him, Caleb. Like me and you. Crazy. Caleb's also 18 years, or I'm sorry, Caden's 18 years old. Caleb about 30 years old. Caleb's been at Duke since like it feels like he was there with Zion and then. I know he actually wasn't, but like he's been there a second. Like I just think the version we saw of Caleb Foster was really good. And I just thought he met expectations. That's all. Like,
Yeah.
I'm actually like saying this in a manner that is oddly complimentary to Caleb Foster in a way of like, he's too good for us to do that. You know what I mean? Like he's not he's not, and Jake LaRavia is hooping right now. But if you were a Laker fan opening night and you got AR, Luca, Braun, Buddy who's playing center who I won't speak on, and then Jake LaRavia hits a three and you go crazy because you weren't expecting that, I get it. I get it. But now that Jake LaRavia's had a few 20-point games, like you that's just what you expect. And I feel like Caleb Foster making a three is just kind of what you expect. But it's like what I saw from this team that's so much different than any other Duke team, the retention is on the way. Like they not only do they have potentially the number one overall pick, not only do they have Pat Ngangba, who I think is going to go first round, not only do they have Isaiah Evans, with who the way he was playing we might be talking Lotto Zay at some point. Three first round picks, much like last year. I think last year they might have like four, five, six. I don't know. But there's a lot of dudes on this roster that are going to be back too, and be back at a very high level. Dame Sarr looked phenomenal. I think Dame Sarr is back for his sophomore year. Nick Kaminia, we got to see something. I still think he's insanely talented. Maybe like the most talented player on the roster besides Cam. Likely going to be back for his sophomore year. Caden obviously is going to be back for his sophomore year. Darren Harris will be back. Like the retention's on the way. And Duke's been quiet recruiting wise. I think there's a reason for that. I think Shire knows what he already has on this roster. This is a team that I've constantly put in the Purdue Houston realm. I've consistently had them in my Final Four. I will consistently continue to do that. He's not going to have to turn the roster over too much for the first time. And I think I compare him a lot to Calipari recruiting wise. Those best Calipari like championship teams were the ones he didn't have to turn a roster over. Shire has a national title team right now, and he already does next year too.
Yeah, I like that take. And I mean, look, the recruiting class they're going to have is going to be pretty solid, I think, too. And
For
then
sure. For
we
sure.
know what Duke can do in the portal. And then I say this as we're going to wrap up too, is like at the end of the day, this team was supposed to have Cedric Coward. This team has Cedric Coward. This team is by far the best team in the country. Like that guy is what he's doing in the league is great. But like talk about him, Isaiah with Pat and Cam. You don't need a point guard. You don't need a point guard. And because you got Cedric Coward bringing the ball up and being efficient. I don't care. And you can bring Pat Gungba at point. I don't care. But that at the end of the day, they had to pivot off of that. And so you're going to see just a little void happening for the first month or two until the team really gets comfortable with each other. And what I saw from game one, I like, and I'm optimistic for this Duke team. And so I'm looking forward to it. Like Shire, the one thing I love about Shire is he does not duck away from smoke. Duke's non-conference is going to be crazy. Like obviously they have a couple that at Army is cool, and obviously they play Western Carolina, but the Kansas, Arkansas, Florida, Michigan State at Michigan State, Texas Tech, and then you go into conference play, and then while you're in conference play, you play Michigan. Good
Mhm.
luck. This Duke team can either lose 10 games because they play so many tough teams, or they can lose only like four. And you're talking about this Duke team being, again, a Final Four team.
Yeah, this Duke team's gonna be a Final Four team. You lose 10 games, lose 4 games. I think like this team's too talented. Cam Boozer is way too good. I agree. I mean, yeah, I mean, Cedric Howard might win Rookie of the Year, so it's not like a absolutely insane thing to say. But like, he is, but I mean, easily best team in the country if they had Cedric Howard. I don't think anybody realized how good he was, Duke included, by the way. Like, I don't think they brought Cedric Howard in like, yo, this is gonna be the guy. And then I watched two Grizzlies games and said, oh my God, he might be better than Cam Boozer right now.
It's
Yeah.
tough.
He's
Coward's
tough.
tough.
He's tough. He can really play, man. He can really play, and he's more than a 3-and-D guy too, by the way, which is kind of how I the realm I put him in. But we'll be back for Duke games all year. That's J Man. I'm Dion. Like, comment, subscribe.